And hello, welcome to the show today. Now beware of flying birds. Yes, I just spoke to my friend Wayne the butler. You know Wayne the butler, do you? Well, he's not a butler anymore. He looks after this very posh place in London, actually. Oh, I cannot go into... It's all official secrets, you know. I shouldn't be sharing with you this information at all. But yes, he apparently, where he lives now, it's right in the centre of London. He can walk to St. Paul's Cathedral. That's how close to things he is. In the city. I mean, you and I could only dream of ever being able to afford a place there. It's true. Anyway, he's got this little courtyard. He lives up, you know, on the top, well, yes, on the top of a building. I mean, obviously not on the top, but in a room at the top. That's what I mean, at the top of the building. And he's got this little courtyard, sort of where he can sit out on the roof. Can you just imagine that? Having a place in London and being able to sit on the roof. And that's his, like, little area, his kind of garden, his rooftop garden. And he's bought some plants and bits and pieces, and I'm going to go around there in a couple of weeks and have a look. And he's also bought these other bits and pieces out there, and he was putting this, what was he called it now? You know, one of those windbreak things? He was putting one of those up there. And all of a sudden, now I want you to be warned here, boys and girls, because this is reminiscent of a film that you will know as soon as I tell you the story, which isn't actually too long. All right? He was putting this thing up, and all of a sudden heard a fluttering noise, and there, approaching him, was a seagull, and I quote here, with a 4-foot wingspan and its beak wide open coming towards him. He was being attacked by the birds. Oh, well, that's the Jaws music, isn't it, that one? No, I don't know what... I don't know what the bird's music is. You know, Alfred Hitchcock's film. It was this bird. Can you just imagine it? This great big bird with a 4-foot wingspan coming towards you with its beak open. Very, very dangerous. Very dangerous indeed. I don't know actually if any of you saw the YouTube video of, I think, somewhere in New York, I believe it was, where a bird had nested on a public building, and as people were going past, this bird was attacking people with its beak, dear. Well, I would take that bird and chop its beak off. I would. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh. Oh, dear me. Excuse me. And not a tissue anywhere. Oh, here is one. Yep, that's very bad to sneeze like that, actually. They tell us, the government tell us that here in the UK, to avoid the swine flu, you're supposed to catch the sneeze in a tissue and bin it. No good for people like me who are always trying to save money. Is it really? You know, we like to use tissues several hundreds of times to get our money's worth. Hello to you, my name's Chris Reardon. This is United Kingdom Talk, our 3 times a week talk show. The email address, if you want to join in at any time, is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, I went to the cinema with my friend Ron the other day. As always, in my life, nothing is as simple as it sounds. So, the film was due to start in Panton Street, in the Odeon, in Panton Street, in London, Southwest 1. Now, London is split up into different postcodes, as indeed is the rest of the country. Or, if you're in America, zip codes. Why do you call it zip codes? What's all that about? They're postcodes, dear. It's no use giving it a fancy name and thinking it's better than us. It's not. It's just a postcode. Zip codes. I quite like that, actually. Zip code. What's your zip code? So Southwest 1, to me, I thought was kind of Victoria way. And I set off my house. I had to meet my friend Ron. Around about 8:30, I said I'd meet him. Okay? So Set off round about 7 o'clock, which was bags of time, so I thought, to get there, to see this film. And travelled into London, no problem at all. And as I got closer, I realised, hang on a minute, I don't think this is going to be Victoria. And if you're in the UK, you'll know exactly where I am here. Travelling through London, about 8 o'clock is not an over-pleasant experience by car, okay? So it started taking me through Hammersmith, which was okay. The satnav, I follow the satnav every. You know I've got no sense of direction whatsoever, so I follow the satnav. Wherever it says, Chris Reardon goes. I've just realised I haven't got my light positioned properly today. Have I? Does it matter? It's kind of on the side instead of directly in front of me. No, we'll leave it. We'll leave it. It's all right. Don't panic. Don't panic. No interruptions today, okay? I've turned the phone. Well, the phone isn't off, I hope. But I've already had my usual 2 phone calls from the people that usually interrupt the show. All right, so hopefully no interruptions. Just you and me chatting away together for the next few minutes. And the satnav then took me towards Piccadilly. I thought, well, it'll probably take me off this at some point. I had no idea really where Panton Street was. And it took me through Piccadilly, and then I started hitting traffic. Not only did I hit traffic, but my fuel indicator warning light, I've got a diesel car, little Toyota Aygo, had started flashing. And I thought, well, not quite sure where a petrol station is, but we must be near the place now, so not to worry. But the traffic was very, very slow moving. Eventually, it took me through Piccadilly, through, where's the other place? Near Trafalgar Square and all round that way, right bang in the centre of London, blooming traffic everywhere, right? Fortunately, my mate Ron, he'd already parked somewhere. And as I came round this corner, I'm on the phone to him. I'm on my hands-free and he's on the phone. He said, where are you? I said, I don't know. I said, I'm just following this sat-nav. And at that point, he was on the path next to me. On the pavement. And I quickly hooted and slammed on my brakes. Little did I know there was a taxi behind me, a black London taxi. Now, the thing is with those, the drivers are very good, but a bit aggressive at sometimes, I think. Not all of them, just 1 or 2. And I slammed on my brakes. He hooted. He hooted me. What a liberty. He hooted me, dear. Now, let me ask you, boys and girls, if you're in the UK, how many times has a black taxi slammed on its brakes in front of you? Oh, yes. But when it's us, it's all very different. The hooters come out, the windows go down, you get sign languages out the window. And I didn't even look at him, boys and girls. You just do not want to make eye contact. Why would I want to look at a black London taxi driver? Eh? I shall rephrase that. That sounded wrong. Why would I want to look at someone driving a black London taxi? That's better. Sorry. Oh God, we'll have all the politically correct people on now, dear, won't we? Oh, Reardon doesn't like the so-and-so and this, that. Oh, please, don't even start, dear. You see, if I was a huge international celebrity, the newspapers would have been down on me for a ton of bricks for that mistake. Yes, so you heard it right, didn't you, dear? Eh? The driver of a black London taxi, okay? Not a black London taxi driver. The driver, pay attention, dear. So we had the window going down and all that. I didn't even look at him. I didn't even look at him. Oh, in fact, I was glad to get my own back. In fact, on future drives through London, I may make a point of actually slamming on my brakes in front of black taxi drivers. What do you reckon? Anyway, so Ron gets in the car laughing. He says, and I said, what are you laughing at? He said, him over there. I said, I didn't even notice, dear. I didn't even notice. So we got in the car and we then spent another 10 minutes driving around trying to find a parking space. Now, this is why I tell you, guys, If you come to London on a holiday, do not hire a car. You don't need one, and if you get one, they are an absolute pain in the bum to try and find parking spaces, and then during the daytime you've got the London congestion charge. You do not want to hire if you're just coming to London, don't hire a car, okay? You can get around everywhere on the public transport. So eventually we found a parking space, and funnily enough, there wasn't many. It was right on the main road as well. There was just a little bit of yellow line, because you can park on single yellow lines after certain times in London. So I found a little single, which was right behind a coach. So brilliant. So we got out of there, rushed into the cinema, dear, because time is ticking away. So we got in there. I said, right, shall we get something to eat then? He said, oh, yes. And I was hoping, and they do rip you off for food, but if you don't go to the cinema now and again, I do like to have a hot dog. I do like to have a hot dog with onions and tomato sauce. And shock horror, he got the tickets, right? I got into the little food area, and there they were. There was sweeties, there were packets of sweets, there was the popcorn, there was the ice cream. No hot dogs. They don't do hot dogs. Da da da. No hot dogs. So there I was, standing in the food area, getting thinner and thinner by the minute, lovey. No hot dogs. What a cheek, dear. I mean, if I'd known, I would have bought my own. Can you keep hot dogs warm? I mean, are there flasks specifically made for hot dogs? If so, on future trips to the cinema, I think I should bring my own hot dog. When Suko comes to London, Suko from New York is coming to London. Yes! I am considering, because I did say, don't tell her this, because this is going to be our secret, okay? Whatever you do, don't tell Suko this. Suko from New York. She's coming over here with her daughter Jade and her husband Jerry. Now, they are taking me to see a musical. Yes, The Lion King. Can you feel the love tonight? Simba, Simba. I'm going to see that at the theatre. The theatre. And I did say to her that, well, if she's doing that, then you must let me buy the pizzas. But I've got another idea. Now, don't tell anyone this, right? Come here. Come close to the speaker, because I don't want Suko to hear this. Do you think she'd mind if I turned up with a couple of bags of sandwiches? Because it'd be a lot cheaper than taking them all to Pizza Hut, wouldn't it? I mean, would you feel insulted if I invited you out, or you invited me out, and I said, oh, I'll take you out for something to eat later, and if, at half time, instead of going to Pizza Hut, or, after the play or film or whatever is finished, would you be insulted if I then produced from a couple of carrier bags a few ready-made sandwiches? I mean, I would have a selection, it wouldn't be just cheese. I might have cheese or ham and banana. I could have a selection. So I might, don't tell Suko that, for Christ, please don't tell her that. But I thought it'd be bad. And I could palm it off as sort of something very English. I said, well, this is what we all do here. And she wouldn't know any difference, would she? So I don't know what you think of that. Do let me know on the old email, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk is my email address, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. So there we are. No hot dogs. Most disappointed. So then we started looking around, and there was a queue a mile long, and some foreign girl on the till. And she was so blooming slow. It was a bit like going and to see that miserable git who works in the post office just down the road from me in Birchill Post Office. The one with the bald end of the glasses. I must try and secretly get a picture of him one day. Oh, he's miserable. She was a bit like that. So we're waiting for this popcorn. And, we decided to have popcorn. And then Ron says, why don't you just have those already in the bag? And we looked on the wall and there were bags of toffee popcorn. But I have to say, it looked like someone had trodden all over the bags. They were all crinkled. They weren't nice and new. They were all crinkled up. Anyway, I thought, I can't wait any longer. So we got one bag of popcorn, which was quite large. And I said, shall we just get one between two? He said, is that all you want? I said, well, I mean, they're quite big bags anyway. I said, just give us another bag. So we got another bag. 2 bags of popcorn. And then Ron did something that I wouldn't usually do when I'm looking for sweets. And he looked at the sell-by date. And do you know one of them was a month past its sell-by date? This is bags of toffee popcorn, dear. Now, I know sell-by dates very important on things like meat and dairy products, but sweets, I thought, well, they last for ages, don't they? I know you get sell-by dates on chocolate or best before dates. I don't think they're bad for you afterwards. It's just a best before, which doesn't mean you're going to get ill if you eat them afterwards. Incidentally, talking of chocolates, I must hold my hand up and tell you that I had a few dairy milk chocolate buttons the other night at Birmingham. We got a lovely lady on the door there. Her name's Bev. Bev, the door lady. And she brought in chocolates and she gave me some of them. So thank you for those, Bev, just in case you're watching the show, which you probably aren't, but I'd like to thank you anyway. So we pointed this out to I said, and he said, look, this is out of date. And she looked at she said, I'm sorry, I think it was April, actually 2 months out of date. So we picked up another couple which were in date. And I bought those. And do you know what? I think we had 2 medium Pepsis, no ice. Remember, I told you that before. When you order these drinks, you order no ice because then they have to fill it up. It's all about extracting as much money out of the customer for as little outlay as you possibly can. That's how they all work, dear. And it's the same in bars. Never have ice in anything. Okay? Because they fill up the glass with ice and you're lucky to get 2 drops of liquid in there. So I asked for 2 Pepsis, no ice, and 2 of these bags of popcorn. That comes at £11.50. £11.50 for 4 blooming little items. It's outrageous, isn't it? Absolutely outrageous. But, we could have bought our own stuff in, I suppose, and stuffed it in our pockets. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. So we got that. And time was ticking away. The time was now 9 o'clock. The film was advertised to start at 8:50. Okay? The time was now 9 o'clock. But, there's always adverts and that on before. So then we went into the cinema. And for the first time in ages, actually, the cinema was almost full. Which, when I go to the cinema, you see, I usually go to the cinema like 3 o'clock on a weekday afternoon if I want to go and see a film. So it's not always particularly busy. So we sat down and Ron's a bit stuck up. He's one of these posh buffs. And he was really disappointed that there were no premier seats in there. Now, some of the cinemas have premier seats. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, it means there's a gap between the chairs. You're not like sitting next to someone like that. Squashed up. It's a bit like business class on the aeroplanes, but you do have a lot more room and a lot more leg room. And for that, I think you pay an extra £1 or something like that. But he was most distraught because there were no premier seats in there. So we sat on the economy seats and he was moaning about that. Oh, I can't believe I'm sitting here on all this business. I said, shut up. So I did have to slap him. We just slapped him. Shut up. And we sat on an area where there was no one behind us, and within a few minutes of us sitting down, someone arrived and sat down behind us. 2 giggling girls. I mean, you just don't need it, do you, dear, in a cinema? Anyway, they weren't too bad, to be honest. So we started sucking away on our Pepsi Cola and eating our popcorn, which I have to say wasn't all that nice. I mean, all that money. Yeah, I mean, you don't even mind so much when you spend all that money and enjoy something. This popcorn was vile. I mean, it was absolutely vile. Toffee popcorn. So I had half the bag. I think he had the entire bag of this awful stuff. Dreadful. And then the film started. And what was the film? The film was actually a documentary. Now, I don't think I've ever been to the cinema to see a documentary film, but it was very good. It was called The End of the Line. And it was about the global fishing industry and how it's become so good that we are running out of fish. Not in 20 years' time. Now we are running out of fish. And it was saying we should have been woken up when in Canada, for years and years, they had masses and masses amount of cod swimming in their seas. And at one point, it was said that you could almost walk across the water on the cod because it was so plentiful. And this was one of the first areas. And they've run out. They've run out of cod. When I say run out, we're not saying there's a lot less to be caught there now. It's gone. The cod is finished in Canada. And it showed you how there were fishermen demonstrating against the Canadian government because the Canadian government banned cod fishing. Right? Unfortunately, it looks like they didn't do it soon enough because there's just nothing left there now. And of course, all these people are out of jobs. And it said this is now happening all over the place. Areas are running out of fish. And the main reason is we, humans, have become extremely good at finding all the fish. There's a few different reasons here. Technology. All these trawlers are now packed with technology. I did a fantastic film. You've got to go and see it. It's called what is it called? One minute. I think it's called The End of the Line, the film. I'm sure it's called The End of the Line. All these little trawlers are packed with technology. And the skipper of the trawler, there's no guesswork now. He just looks at a few screens on his boat, on his bridge, I suppose. And little graphs and things. And it tells them where the shoals of fish are. It also tells them where fish are hiding. Under rocks and things like that. These fish haven't got a chance. Whereas before this technology came about, fish could escape. You wouldn't catch all of them. There'll always be a few that got away to do a bit more breeding and then bring a bit more fish into the world. But with the technology, they haven't got a chance now. The other there's a few reasons for this. Another reason is there are an awful lot of fishing boats now. There's loads. There's too many people fishing and too few fish in the sea. We've overdone it, as we always do. But I think, for me, the worst part of it was these trawlers. And they have massive, massive great nets. The problem is they don't just catch the fish. These trawlers drop their nets in the water. And the nets go right down to the bottom of the water on the sea or ocean floor. And then they pull these nets along and together, pulling up everything that's on the ocean floor. The fish, anything that gets in the way, the coral is destroyed, everything on the bottom of the ocean is pulled up. And of course, most of this stuff is thrown away. Yes, they do get the fish thereafter, but everything else is totally and utterly decimated. And that's what's gone wrong. We've just become too good at it. And it's all very sad, really. Very, very sad and worrying. Now, what's happening at the moment is the big fish are running out. So then they bring something else along. You know, something a bit smaller. That the big fish, because the big fish have gone, okay, the little fish have now got a better chance because they now start breeding because the big fish aren't there to eat them. Well, then we decide, okay, let's have some of the smaller ones. So we start eating the smaller fish, okay? Then the little fish that they used to eat start breeding. Well, shrimps at the moment are plentiful because guess what? There aren't so many big fish to eat the shrimps. But do you see where this is going? You get smaller and smaller to a point where after that, there is nothing. And it's extremely worrying. Now, they were saying on this film that you probably think it's a good idea to eat fish from fish farms. But again, on this film they were saying, well, the fish in fish farms have to be fed. And they are fed, get this, a lot on other fish that have been caught in the sea. So it's kind of self-defeating, really, isn't it? Of course, what's the simple answer? It sounds simple, but it's not. The simple answer is to ban all fishing for a period of time, and then the fish will breed and once again become plentiful. I think that must be the only way to do it. Unfortunately, this will throw a lot of people out of work. Some areas of the world rely totally on fishing. And you can imagine there would be protests and rallies and all this by fishermen of the world in all their various countries. That's the answer. Simply stop fishing worldwide for a period of time. Unfortunately, certain stocks have gone down so far, I would imagine in some places that would have to be for quite a long period of time, but so be it. Now, it is terrible that people would then be out of work, but if you don't do this, we will run out of fish and you'll be out of work anyway. And I think that's what's got to be done. That's how it was coming across in the film. We've become too good at fishing. There was a particular fish they were talking about, the bluefin tuna. And it was saying already there are quotas that aren't supposed to be passed, but people being people, you know, as something becomes rarer, guess what? It becomes worth more money. And certain organisations are catching this tuna and freezing it. And they think they're sitting on it, waiting for it to run out. And then they'll have this frozen bluefin that they can charge what they like for. It's all about money again, isn't it? It's very scary. I find it very scary. And they're also saying, I think, that the fish do something with the carbon dioxide in the sea. It's all very scientific. And if there's not as much fish, what's going to eat the carbon dioxide? That sort of thing. I'm not a scientist. I'm just going from memory here. So do go and see that film if you have a chance. As I say, it's a documentary. it's really good. I really enjoyed it. There's a couple of horrible scenes there where they get a big fish up onto a boat. I think it's in the first 10 minutes of it, and this fish, and then the bloke attacks it with a knife, and that was just a little bit too much for me. But there we are. So very, very interesting film. I wonder, did you see that film? What did you think of it? It was called The End of the Line. I'm sure it was called The End of the Line documentary. Let me know what you thought. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Not so bad if people are going out catching fish on hook and lines, I suppose. It's the trawlers that catch massive amounts of fish very, very efficiently. That seems to be the biggest problem to me. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk is my email address. Alrighty. Some emails for you today. From Robert in Iceland. Hello, Robert. Who says, Dear Chris and friends of the United Kingdom Talk show, on one of your recent shows, you asked a number of questions about life in the far-flung post of empire that is Iceland. He says the Northern Lights, on the subject of the Northern Lights. Okay, well, this is a difficult one, and I have to say I am asked often. The problem being that we are talking of winter time, and this is the problem. The weather this far north can and is a problem for the traveller. However, for us, the main problem is that you cannot predict when you will see the Northern Lights. Various reasons for this cloud cover, which in wintertime is common. Also, one cannot guarantee that even on the most clearest of nights that you will see the Northern Lights. My advice to those interested in seeing the Northern Lights would be to check for companies that fly from the UK to the northern part of Europe. You will have a better chance of seeing the lights if you are high up in planes. These flights, I understand, then return to the UK. So I suppose there are specific flights that you can get. They leave the UK, fly around for a bit, and then return back to see if you can see them or not. I would also contact your local astronomy club and ask them. It would be for me the starting point in my quest to see a wonderful sight, and one that I have on many occasions found myself utterly spellbound. It must be a lovely thing to see those beautiful lights flashing away in the sky, don't you think? I'd like that. I'd like to see those. And I was also asking about the midnight sun, which you can see in parts of the world. That's where the sun never sets. Midnight sun, he says, June the 21st, and of course we've just gone past that now, haven't we? A week before and a week after is still good. He says the rule here is the further north you can go, the better. We have driven to the north of our field to see the sun kiss the horizon. My recommendation, simple really, for those of you in the UK, then travel to Norway and stay in one of the most northerly towns. If you have the cash, well, I would book one of the many cruises that operate in these waters. So thank you very much for that. And he sends a link to some of those sites about travelling to Iceland and indeed Norway. And it is something I'd like to do with the old cruise. I could do a cruise and look for the midnight sun. It must be very beautiful. He also sends a picture because he recently received a United Kingdom Talk stroke Bingay mug. And he sends a picture of one of his elves, Jasper Smarty Pants III, with his mug. He says, I shall hope to try and find other pictures of my workers. And he's also sent a picture of his great uncle called the village twit, who spends his time shouting at the top of his voice, "I've got a candle and I'm not afraid to use it." It's all very strange, really. Very, very strange. Picture of his elf and the cup. And who was the other one? What was his name? His great uncle called the village twit. And another picture of an elf of another great uncle called Christopher, who plays for the other team. If you get my meaning, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Well, I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean plays for the other team? I don't understand. Thank you, Robert. Always a pleasure. You write some fantastic emails, my friend. You really do. Hello to Joe from AmericanTalkUSA.com. He says, since you've asked for emails, I dare say you've been overrun with the stuff in the last few days, but someone needs our help, boys and girls. Are you ready to assist Joe from AmericanTalkUSA.com, fellow podcaster and radio personality to the stars? He says, I've had a problem in the last couple of days and it's all but stopping my hiking. I think I have irritated the metatarsus. The what? The metatarsus. Metatarsus? What the hell's that? Oh, I understand. I have irritated the metatarsus in between the second and third toes on my right foot. I have hiked about 200 miles. I mean, weren't there any buses, dear? It's a long way to walk. 200 miles? That's 322 kilometres. Oh, don't worry about kilometres here in the UK, dear. That's for the Europeans, okay? In the UK, we still are proud and privileged to use the term miles. Everyone knows what a mile is, okay? I don't understand kilometres. A strange thing invented by someone in a far-off place that really we're not interested in. We're not interested in kilometres or litres or metres or centimetres. We want inches, feet, yards, and more importantly, miles. He says, I have hiked about 200 miles over the last 10 months. Well, that's not far, is it, Bugcrut? 200 miles in 10 months? What's that then? 20 miles a month? So that's 5 miles a week. I mean, it's hardly a long way, are you? You see, you were trying to fool me there, weren't you? I have hiked 200 miles. Now, if you'd have left the bit that said over the last 10 months, I might have been impressed. 200 miles over 10 months, dear. That's 20 miles a month. That's 5 miles a week. That's not even a mile a day. You crafty old so-and-so. Coming out with stuff like that. He says, the insole of my boots has become worn. Well, I didn't check the insoles as often as I should, and now I have unbelievable daily foot pain. So a word to the wise, regularly check your shoes insoles for wear if you run or walk as exercise. He says so. As a topic for discussion, we like to have a bit of a discussion here on the programme. What insider tips and tricks have you learned over time from your own exercise? We all learn things, more often than not by experience, and when we have hobbies we love, we like to talk about them. Yes, we do. So what can you maybe teach other people about maximising their enjoyment of physical activity and maybe avoiding injury or discomfort from their exercise? Have a great day, my friend, from Joe, AmericanTalkUSA.com, from Eastern Tennessee. He says, P.S. really enjoyed Suko and Jerry on the show a couple of weeks ago. Yep, so there we are. There's something for you to talk about. Joe's got bad feet at the moment. How could he have avoided that? Now, I have to say, when I was in the Scouts, we used to go for quite a few hikes and things like that. And Mum always made me wear if I bought new boots for hiking, I would wear them for a few days before the couple of weeks before, I'd wear them a little bit at a time to wear the boots in. So that's always important. Thick socks as well to sort of pad yourself against the sides of the boots. That always helps for me. Has anyone else got any suggestions for Joe? Please let him know on the usual email address, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. How can we help Joe inspire? The other thing, of course, Joe, cut your feet off. Cut them off. Do away with them, dear. Then no more foot pain. Cut the feet off, and that's it. Thank you, Joe. Onward. Let's say hello to Tom Harris, another fellow podcaster from harrispodbean.com. That's where his one is, harrispodbean.com. Hi, Chris. He says, watching your show, your chat with Suko's husbands about the pyramids and Stonehenge. And he says, I wouldn't be so quick. Don't get me wrong here. He's coming from a different angle here. First of all, I would say to you, we weren't saying that people from an older time were at all backward or anything like that. He's coming from another perspective here, right? I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss the abilities of our ancestors. He's not saying that I did that. Wish I didn't, okay? That's what he's saying. In a general term, don't be quick to dismiss the abilities of our ancestors. It's easy to think of Stone Age and Copper Age people as ignorant and backward, but nothing could be further from the truth. People then were no less clever and ingenious than they are today. They simply didn't have the same technology as we do. Real archaeologists have a very good idea of how Stonehenge and the pyramids were built, and it was well within the capabilities of their eras. Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. Because we were talking about the pyramids a few shows ago, and the way they were built, and they are just so, the measurements are so tight and perfect. And we wonder how on earth we could have done that. And, you know, much better than the buildings that are put up today. The way these structures, I mean, they've been standing there for thousands of years. Fantastic pieces of engineering, all this stuff, isn't it? Tom says, I have some stone tools created by Stone Age people in the south of England and Ireland that were created ergonomically perfect to fit the human hand. That doesn't mean that Stone Age people had a perfect understanding of human anatomy. They didn't. They learnt through trial and error over centuries how to create a tool that would be efficient and comfortable to handle. They were quite clever indeed in their environment. Could you survive like they did? I don't think many of us could. No, I don't think so either. Funnily enough, when I was in primary school, I was about 8 or 9 years old. For some reason, I collected stuff. I decided to have a stone museum. And I just looked around and picked up all these stones and put them on the windowsill in one of the classrooms. And the teacher said, what are all these stones? I said, that's my new stone museum. I didn't know anything about these stones. I just picked up a load of stones and that was my stone. Isn't it funny, the strange things you do as a child? Well, actually, there's something for you to write in about. Think back to your childhood and tell me some of the strange things you used to do as a child. Do you remember? Let us know on the email as always, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Tom goes on to say, likewise, I think that some famous sites like Stonehenge and the pyramids have been unreasonably romanticised to the point of silliness. Many stone circles exist in the British Isles, and merry pyramids exist in Egypt and in Central and South America, but nobody doubts ancient people could have built them. I personally think that Jasper Smarty Pants I, that's one of Robert's from Iceland's elves that live with him, the great-grandfather of Robert's elf had something to do with it. My point is, though, that ancient people were intelligent and clever and were able to build some pretty incredible things with tools we think of as very primitive. And it's not fair to diminish their accomplishments by giving aliens the credit, because I was saying, wasn't I, that did humans actually build these things? Or have aliens been on this planet and built them for us? Indeed, I am an alien, as you probably know by now. I'm a very, very strange person. Someone who needs constant professional help and surveillance. And that's why we have so many damn cameras in this country watching everything. Tom also says, on a geekier note, Chris, if you want to see a cool movie with pyramids, ancient Egyptian gods and spaceships, you should check out the movie Stargate. It's a fun film on its own, and of course it led to 2 long-running TV series here in the States, Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. So thanks for that, Tom. No, I've never seen the film Stargate. Don't know why, just never have. But yeah, I might have a little look. I've got to cycle into town later, so I might have a little look in HMV to see if that one's there, actually. Let me circle that and put that to the side for dealing with. Thank you very much. Look at that, Joe. I've printed your email off twice. What a terrible, terrible waste of a sheet of paper, dear. Right, let me see where we're going to next. Look who it is. It's our friend Ryan. I haven't heard from Ryan for ages. All right, Ryan. He wrote this a couple of weeks ago. Hello, he says. Just thought I'd drop you a message, seeing how you are. I'm very well, thank you, Ryan. Very well, Ryan. I would like to say this is probably the 4th email I've sent to you since I started listening to you all the way back in November 2005. Nearly 4 years ago now. I know. 4 years I've been sitting here with a chattering head. As you know, I've been in a DJ competition for the last 7 weeks, and so I'm still in there. That's around 13 DJs left out of 50. It's really good, fun and hard. Yeah, well done with that. Congratulations. I was listening to one of your recent shows, and I just wondered, why is Slough known as a dump and an awful place to live? Being as you live near there, maybe you could tell me. Is it something to deal with one of the best comedies ever, The Office, with Ricky Gervais, which is based in Slough? Now, I just can't stand him or The Office. It winds me up, that programme. I don't know why. He says, anyway, just thought I'd let you know I'm still listening and look forward to meeting you sometime when you let me come and see you in Birmingham. Maybe I could bring some CDs and we go back to back. No, probably not, actually. You'd have to get in contact with a manager for that. You can't just... I wouldn't be able to just do something like that. You'd have to be in contact with a manager. Love you lots. And you help me live my life by taking my mind off things. And I've nearly finished college now, so I'm going to be unemployed. However, I will strive to look for work, which is going to be double hard with this recession. Any advice you can give me? Take care, from Ryan. The only advice I will give you is to keep trying. Just keep trying for a job. And I think at the moment we might be at the place, sort of state where you have to take whatever comes along. And whatever the job is, it doesn't matter. If you were offered a job in a fast food restaurant, take it. It's a job. Never, ever listen to anyone who slags you off because you work in a job which may not be, shall we say, hip. We can't always get the jobs that we want. I got a job while I was still at school. I worked in a supermarket, but I had a job. So when people come up to me, a lot of people, oh, I got a job, Chris. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, no, you'll laugh. No, go on, what is it? I work in McDonald's. Brilliant. You have a job. You are earning money. It doesn't matter, Ryan, what the job is. Just get a job and get yourself a bit of cash. All right? And carry on with that job. And while you have that job, look around for the job you really want. Or perhaps a job that's better than the one you've got. The most important thing is getting some sort of job. Perhaps it'll be a cleaning job where you have to get up at, I don't know, you start at 12 o'clock at night and finish at 8 o'clock in the morning. But it will be a job. Better to have a job than nothing at all. And I will never, ever, ever look down my nose at anyone who's doing any sort of job and not being unemployed. Some people will. But you ignore them because they're idiots. Some people think they're in jobs and they're so important. Oh, so important. Oh, I'm the manager of so-and-so or whatever. Ignore them. You have a job, okay? So when you finish that college, or even perhaps you could try now, get that job and carry on with the DJing. The DJing is a sideline at the moment. It may be that it becomes more than that. Most people who are DJs start very young, as indeed you have done, 15 years old possibly. And by the time they're 25, 26, they're a bit bored with it and they move on. Most people. I'm not the norm. There's a few of us who have been lucky. Okay, I'm not complacent at all. A few of us who have been lucky over the years and carried on. I'm 46 now. I started DJing when I was 16. I'm 46 and I'm still doing it. I never ever dreamed I'd be able to carry on so long. And I'm grateful for all the people, even the ones I've never got on with. I'm grateful for all the people who have given me work and continue to do so. But I don't think I'm the norm. Most DJs would have packed it in by about 30. And there's a few big name DJs out there as well who carry on doing their jobs. Big names like Carl Cox and Brandon Block. Still goes to Ibiza, doesn't he? And plays his music. All right? But for most people, it is a sideline. Yes, they do want a career, but sometimes they don't get there. But it doesn't matter. You can still do it as a sideline for years. Maybe you can turn it into a career. I don't know. I can't see ahead. There's a lot of luck involved as well. And I always think with this sort of thing, and indeed all entertainment type things, it's not what you can do. It's being in the right place at the right time. How many times have you heard that? And it's true. With all sorts of jobs, you've got to be in the right place at the right time. There may be, I don't know what the big nightclub is where you are, but it may be that today their resident DJ has been sacked and they're looking for someone and you just happen to make that phone call. Do you see what I mean? Right place at right time. Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. And as for why Slough got such a bad name, I don't know actually. It's not too bad there, to be honest. All right. Thank you, Ryan. We've got time for one more email today, I think. One more email. And this is from CW in Australia, who says, "Good day, Chris." Chris from Victoria, Australia here. Just wanted to say that in the last email I sent, I said I listened to both of your shows. Now, I didn't mean twice on United Kingdom Talk a week, as I listened to all 3 of those with bated breath. What I mean to say is I also listened to your podcast show on another radio station. This is not talked about often because of the fact that United Kingdom Talk is played out on other stations. Yes, it's never a done thing to mention the name of other radio stations if your show is going out on radio stations. You see what I mean? So that's why I say, yes, I do another radio show, a live radio talk show for someone, but it's not really fair for me to say where it is, because then that advertises the other station on the station that is playing this show. Are you following? It's all very confusing, but most people know where to find my website, and that tells you where to go anyway. You know my main website. Well, I haven't given that out for a while, have I? My main website, and this is where all my pictures and everything's a collections of pictures from over the years, not just of me, but my family and friends and things I've done. You can find that at chrisreardon.co.uk, right? chrisreardon.co.uk. He says, I love both your shows. I listen to you 4 times a week. How do you blooming manage that, eh? Oh dear, do my brain in. What a liberty, thinking I don't know when all of your shows are on, dear, as I've been listening since show number 1. Just one more note, I love your new shirts, and it's hard to believe you got such a good deal on eBay for those shirts. I've been looking for myself now for some Manchester United shirts and fell in love with the range and more so the prices. I hope you're enjoying your week. From Chris in Victoria, Australia. I tell you what, I wonder if I could get a second-hand Cristiano Ronaldo t-shirt, unwashed. I'd happily wear that. That's it from me today. As always, thanks for watching and listening to the show today. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk is my email address. See you on the next